What if one man's ego was so enormous? He didn't just conquer the known world, he rebranded it with his own name. This is the story of Alexander the Great, the man who didn't just build an empire of land, but an empire of cities, each one stamped with his name, Alexandria. But behind the ego was a plan, one so bold that it would keep his name echoing across continents for more than 2,000 years. The world of the 4th century BC was divided. Persian kings ruled the east, Greek city-states the west, and between them, a rugged land called Macedon. From this backwater rose a prince trained by Aristotle, crowned at just 20, and born with an obsession, not just to win wars, but to remake the world in his image. Alexander's weapon wasn't only the sword, it was the blueprint. Everywhere he went, he didn't just take cities, he built them. Brick by brick, he created a living map of his ambition. Each city a reflection of his dream of a unified world. When Alexander crossed into Asia in 334 BC, he didn't just lead an army, he launched the world's biggest city-building campaign. Every Alexandria he founded had a purpose. First, military control. Each new city was a fortress, filled with veterans and loyal Macedonian soldiers, outposts to secure his supply lines and crush rebellion before it began. They weren't just settlements, they were watchtowers of empire. Second, administration. Alexander knew one capital couldn't rule a world that stretched thousands of miles. So, each Alexandria became a local hub, a place for governors to collect taxes, command troops, and enforce Greek order. And finally, culture. Every city had Greek theaters, markets, and gymnasiums. Through them, he spread the Greek language, art, and ideas deep into Asia. Locals began to mix with Greeks, and soon a new civilization was born, the Hellenistic world, a blend of East and West that would shape history for centuries. This wasn't chaos, it was design. Alexander wasn't just a conqueror, he was an architect of civilization. Among the dozens of Alexandrias, one became legendary. Alexandria, Egypt, founded in 331 BC. Alexander personally chose the site, a narrow strip of land between the Mediterranean Sea and Lake Mareotis, a perfect harbor, a gateway between Greece and Africa. He told his engineers, "This will be the bridge between worlds." After his death, his general Ptolemy made Alexandria the capital of Egypt and turned it into a city that would outshine even Athens. The Pharos Lighthouse, one of the 7 wonders of the world, rose above the waves, its light guiding ships for miles, and in its heart stood the Great Library of Alexandria, the largest collection of knowledge on Earth. Here, Eratosthenes measured the Earth's circumference. Euclid wrote elements. Archimedes' ideas echoed through its halls. For centuries, this one city, born from a conqueror's imagination, became the brain of the ancient world. But Alexandria in Egypt was only one jewel in a chain. As Alexander's army thundered east, cities sprang up in his wake, from Turkey to Afghanistan to Central Asia. Alexandria ad Isum guarded the crossroads of the Mediterranean. Alexandria Ariana, modern Herat, controlled key trade routes in Afghanistan. Alexandria Arachosia became today's Kandahar, its very name echoing his, Iskandar, Kandahar. And then there was Alexandria Eshate, Alexandria the furthest. Built in just 20 days on the far edge of the known world, modern Tajikistan. It was a fortress, a symbol, and a warning. This far and no further. Every city was a milestone of his unstoppable march, a breadcrumb trail of ambition across continents. So, was it all vanity? Did Alexander name 20 cities after himself just to feed his ego? Yes, but not only that. Alexander believed he was touched by the gods, the son of Zeus Ammon. He wasn't satisfied being remembered as a king. He wanted to be a legend, eternal, divine, untouchable. But his vanity had purpose. Each city was a seed of Greek power, a permanent foothold in foreign lands. He didn't just conquer, he colonized with culture. Other empires would come and go, Persians, Mongols, Romans. But none built identity into geography like Alexander. His name became a network of civilization itself. That's not just ego. That's strategy disguised as immortality. Alexander died in 323 BC, only 32 years old. His empire shattered within months. But his cities lived on. They outlasted kingdoms. They became the capitals of new civilizations. They carried Greek language and science into lands he never saw. Even today, his fingerprints remain. Alexandria, Egypt, home to over 5 million people. Kandahar, Afghanistan, its name born from his own. Khojand, Tajikistan, once Alexandria the furthest. Everywhere you look, the echo remains. Because Alexander the Great understood something few rulers ever did. You don't achieve immortality by ruling people. You achieve it by building cities that outlive you. He didn't just conquer the world, he branded it. And that brand still stands, carved in stone, whispered in names, glowing on maps. If you enjoyed this journey into the mind of history's most ambitious conqueror, subscribe for more cinematic stories about the empires and people who shaped our world. And tell us in the comments, which Alexandria do you think best represents Alexander's legacy? Alexander the Great didn't just conquer nations, he conquered time. Empires crumble, legends fade, but cities, they endure. And through them, Alexander still walks the earth, one Alexandria at a time.